There's a little fiddler crab.
Marine life is a big part of Captain Johnny Walker's life. For close to 30 years, he has guided fishermen through the bay's waters, pointing out fish and even crabs. But when he isn't on his boat fishing,
I saw a fish over there, but no.
He's on land, protecting the places in which they live.
I would say 20 years ago, you could hardly find a fiddler crab in Sarasota. Now, these little areas are just full of them, and the bird life is amazing. I mean, the birds that come in here and feed.
This place Johnny is talking about is a restored habitat just off New Pass on City Island. Restored meaning native vegetation such as mangroves are no longer scarce. Instead, they are abundant.
Over the years, we've lost like 80% of our mangrove shoreline, and it's nothing but seawalls, which is a sterile atmosphere for fish and everything.
Since fish, young and old, thrive here underneath the mangroves, without them, the fish population cannot flourish.
Right here is a great shoreline of Brazilian pepper and
This is one of many reasons why the Army Corps of Engineers, West Coast Inland Navigation District, Sarasota Bay National Estuary Program, and Sarasota County are working together trying to restore islands in Sarasota Bay back to native habitats.
You can see the shoreline's very different from what we saw. Well, one big difference that you'll notice on these islands is that most of the species here are either Australian pine, Brazilian pepper, or carrot wood.
Close to 40 years ago, the Army Corps of Engineers dredged Sarasota waters, dumping the material called spoil on productive native habitats, creating islands now known as spoil islands. As a result, those spoil islands now contain a variety of non-native invasive plants.
On Big Edwards Island, many visitors may not be aware of their surroundings. These Australian pines may provide shade, but what visitors may not know is that these trees are non-native and can be harmful to the ecosystem.
Marine biologist Bruce Hasbrook, along with members from the county and the National Estuary Program, have been studying the non-native plants like the pines for years. Bruce says the plants can literally take over islands, allowing hardly any other native vegetation to grow.
Both the Brazilian pepper and the Australian pine have toxins in their leaves, and the leaves of the Brazilian pepper and the needles of the Australian pine. So when they fall to the floor around the base of the tree, you can't get other plants to grow.
Programs are already in place to restore coastal areas back to their native habitats throughout the state, including in neighboring Manatee County. Sarasota Bay National Estuaries Director Mark Alderson oversaw the restoration of 7 manatee habitats, including Leffis Key.
And this is one of a number of projects that have been completed around the bay in an attempt to create juvenile fish habitat.
This looks great, Mark.
Isn't this great? No, this looks great.
Here at Leffis Key, the young fish are plentiful under native mangroves, and birds are even making their homes here.
A little island, that's right. That's what I was looking for.
Not only has this restored habitat become a refuge for birds, but school groups like Miss Miller's Bible School class are also flocking here to learn more about the environment.
I want to make them aware that we do need to protect our environment, that if we don't come out and show them that, hey, this is how wonderful it is, then they will not preserve it.
I see the class. What can you see? I see him.
It's a lesson some believe Sarasota County can learn from.
I think Manatee County's done a great job in taking some of the potential restoration sites and turn them into successes. And they're a close neighbor, so it's easy for us to come here and look and see what they did.
In fact, the Army Corps of Engineers, with the support of the West Coast Inland Navigation District and the county, are looking at proposed habitat restoration of spoil islands in Sarasota Bay. The idea is to restore the islands to native habitats by removing non-native plants, regrading some areas, and replanting with native plants. The project team has involved the public through 5 workshops.
There are several proposals for 5 islands in the project, and it basically would regrade some of this area and restore some of the mangrove areas, and where you see the uplands or out of the water would turn it more into native sorts of habitats that we've lost a lot of in Sarasota over past 50 to 70 years.
Many Australian pines here on Big Edwards Island have simply toppled over from erosion because their roots are too shallow.
This Australian pine, you can see that the roots don't even extend more than about a foot under the ground. So as soon as you start getting the erosion underneath it, the tree's going to fall in the water.
The pine erosion can cause problems for the fish habitats and shorelines.
Where's the baby?
Bill Popal and his wife came to Leffis Key to see Florida's natural coastline, but they know all too well native habitats like this are quickly disappearing.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, with all the beaches around, with all the hotels, of course, wanting to be there. A lot of this is going to disappear, so it's nice to see this.
The good news is there is still plenty of natural habitats like Leffis Key in Florida left for tourists and residents to explore. Residents who care about the health of our waters, like Captain Walker, hope habitat restoration in Sarasota County will happen sooner than later. For Inside, I'm Amy Hare.
Doing a little dueling with it.
Sarasota County Environmental Services Warren Russell and Mike Jones are on a mission.
I have a feeling if he's in here, he's going to be near the mouth.
They are looking for a species that is considered to be of special concern, meaning it's illegal to take, possess, transport, or sell. With a space-age device that looks almost like a garden hose, a tiny camera on the end explores this narrow burrow.
All right, so I'm going to run it in the hole now.
Mike watches the monitor while Warren winds the scope through the hole.
We got a lot of loose dirt in this one.
Deeper and deeper into the burrow, past rocks, roots, tight turns, and insects, until finally the pair's perseverance pays off.
There's a turtle. There he is. Hey.
A gopher tortoise is found inside.
Sometimes it'll take like a week or so. We'll actually rake it clean, free of debris, and then put sticks across the entrance and see if they're disturbed, if we find tortoise tracks.
With the help of a state permit, it's Warren and Mike's job to help relocate tortoises to safer ground before county construction starts. Last year, the county investigated close to 28 gopher tortoise burrows using the scope, saving the county both time and money.
But doing it in-house, with our permit assistance group in natural resources, when we do it in-house, we often then can use like an in-house backhoe operator, which saves quite a bit of time and paperwork and contracting.
County utility crews help save tortoise lives by contacting fellow staff members like Warren and Mike before water lines are ever laid or roads are ever built.
We have regular contact with them, and we utilize their expertise on a regular basis, and it's nice to have someone available like that.
The gopher tortoise's habitat is a prime location for construction in Florida. This is one of the reasons why wildlife officials have placed it on their species of special concern list.
It would be really impossible to do any of the relocations without this unless you wanted to excavate every burrow, even those classified as abandoned or inactive.
And it's not just gopher tortoises that live in these burrows. Close to 300 potential species live in here. Everything from rattlesnakes to gopher frogs.
And some of them can occupy them all at the same time. You have say your rattlesnakes, which we'll use them at the same time as a tortoise, which will use them at the same time as the Florida mouse, and they'll just occupy it at different times of the day, or they time their comings and goings so that they don't coincide or run headlong into each other.
With the county's help, these naturally long-living creatures can have a new lease on life without the threat of being killed during construction.
It's a really good feeling that you've actually saved the life of that tortoise, because the only other option sometimes, as long as the development is going through, would be to kill the tortoise. And so I think we're doing a really great thing by saving these things.
For Inside, I'm Amy Hare.
Well, this particular truck originally was utilized at what was called the 9th Street Fire Station. The truck was there and was utilized to actively fight fires and protect the city. The Mack is a source of pride for Sarasota Fire Department. Sarasota Fire Department originally was founded by ordinance in 1911, and as a result of that ordinance, the community pulled together to protect itself from fire, and the fire department earned the loyalty of the citizens of Sarasota, and they have a lot of pride in their stations, a lot of pride in their work, and a lot of pride in their apparatus.
In 1938, this dual engine could pump 750 gallons per minute. Decades later, after too much time parked and not pumping, this local relic started to show its age.
It was a rust bucket.
Most trucks, by the time they attain this age, they're lost or destroyed.
It looked ready for the junkyard, not the firehouse that it once bravely manned. But modern-day firefighters had a different plan for their old friend.
I think it's tremendous because I see so much of Sarasota's history disappear, for example, the Ringling Towers. And whenever we can take a piece of history and restore it back to its original beauty, I think it's tremendous. And it's an example of when everybody comes together to accomplish something, it can easily be done. This particular truck's magnificent. Restoration work that's done in this piece of apparatus. The pride is shown clearly.
The word pride has double meaning when it comes to this 1938 Mack engine. Not only does it tell you how Sarasota County firefighters feel about the truck, but it also represents the group that made it all possible.
In November of 1999, I had a contract with Pride Industries, which is in Daytona, part of the prison system, Florida State prison system, and the prisoners over there refurbished this. It took them 13 months, did a super job. They tore this thing completely down to the frame, every part off of it. Everything's original, repainted everything, and put it back together.
Pride Enterprises is a program known across the country for its work. Located at various Florida State facilities, inmates do everything from dairy farming to eyeglass manufacturing. The Tomoka Correctional Institution in Daytona Beach houses the heavy vehicle renovation industry, where convicted felons become certified mechanics. Life behind bars can give kind of a rebirth to childhood hobbies that play a role in restoration projects like the 38 engine.
One of the prisoners over there is into antique fire trucks, and his job was to get all the history behind it and put it back to the shape it was when it came off the showroom.
These prisoners have done work for Sarasota before, including the emergency command bus and most recently an antique scat bus. Now this little engine that could and did is a museum piece, but it's far from retired. County folks can look forward to catching a glimpse of the 1938 dual ignition engine at the fair, in parades, or maybe even back on the front line. This time pumping out priceless lessons about taking pride in historical preservation, and a reminder that lessons in fire safety never grow old. For Inside, I'm Charlie Yeagley.
Believe it or not, this dry prairie of grass is a wetland. In fact, just below the surface is one of the county's main sources of drinking water. It's called the Carlton Wellfield. What you may not know is that someone is constantly keeping an eye on this water supply. A team of county water experts, including biologists and a hydrogeologist, closely monitor 160 wellfield and wetland sites. Biologist Jeff Banner uses state-of-the-art equipment to collect weather and water data through an automated process called telemetry. Biologist Debbie Blanco monitors how water impacts wetland vegetation. Jennifer Stedman Ryan is a hydrogeologist. She studies the water quality and measures how deep the underground water is. The monitoring they do helps protect our water supply's future, especially in times of drought.
This is a wetland, believe it or not. Even though it's dry as bone, normally this is an algae mat. In the wet season, this wetland's probably standing water is about here on average.
The ground is like a sponge and tends to store water. And what we're measuring here is the loss of water from that sponge up into the air.
This is a Floridan aquifer well, and I'm measuring the depth to water. This is an electronic tape that should beep when it hits water.
The site records temperature, relative humidity, wind speed and direction, and the intensity of the sunlight.
There it is. That's the that copper bell hitting the surface of the water.
Gathering this data out here and the fact that we've done it for so long and we have a historical record of the conditions out here, we can do a better job of protecting this area while continuing to supply Sarasota County residents with quality drinking water.
We take water levels in this well every month. Gives us an idea of maybe what the drought is doing to the aquifer.
It's really dry. Normally this time of year, it is getting drier by January, and then May, June, it's usually at its driest out here in the wetlands. But this time, normally, this time of year, we still have a little bit of water on the ground.
Yeah, it's very dry. As you can see, looking around, normally it's dry this time of year anyway, and will be. Normally it's dry until May when the thunderstorms start, but we get a few hurricanes. But this is exceptionally dry. There's a funnel. There's a funnel here, and this is 8 inches. Ports the rain into this funnel, which falls into this bucket.
I believe all the data that we're collecting is very important in the management of this reserve and how the water plant is run. And the end result is protecting the resources that we have and great drinking water.
It may take years of drought to show a measurable, lasting impact on the Carlton Reserve well field. However, wet or dry, this team will continue to monitor the water supply to ensure quality drinking water for many years to come. For Inside, I'm Warren Russell.
The